Hey everybody, Seth from Next Adventure here. Today I'm going to cover why you might choose a sit on top kayak or a sit inside kayak as your option for getting out on the water. Okay, so what I've done here is I've chosen two fairly similar kayaks, and one is just a sit in, one is a sit on top. So we've got the Pungo 105 over here, which is just a little over 10 feet, and the Jackson Cruise 10 right here in front of me, which is also right around that same length. So let's list a couple of positives and downsides to each of these styles of boat. With a sit inside, like the Pungo, you are down inside of the boat, which means that you have a lower center of gravity, which typically means that you can achieve a higher level of stability with a narrower boat. And a narrower boat, of course, means that it's gonna paddle through the water more efficiently. It's gonna give you more hull speed, and therefore you're gonna use less effort to travel the same amount of distance. You also, with most sit-insides, have the option of adding a skirt, which will prevent most water from getting inside of the cockpit and also kind of traps warmth in there. So if you're paddling somewhere colder or where it rains a lot, like in Portland, and it's in the fall or winter or early spring when we're still getting a lot of that rain and cold weather, you can still get out and paddle fairly comfortably by just adding that skirt. The downside of a sit inside, one, it is an open design. This means that if you tip it over, it will fill up with water. And so then what you have is a boat that typically doesn't weigh that much, that now is completely full of water and weighs infinitely more, that you need to get out of the water so you can drain it to get back in. The other downside of this, also related to flipping, would be that it is much more difficult to right than a sit on top would be. So, you know, like I just mentioned, when you flip it, it fills up with water. You have to get all the water out really before you can start using the kayak the way that it's meant to be used again. However, within that downside is a bit of an upside. Because of the design of a sit inside and the way that you're in so much contact with the kayak, you can learn how to roll the kayak, right? So you flip over and you flip it right back over. And if you take the time to learn how to roll a kayak, then it's actually the quickest way of recovering. Learning how to roll can be difficult and in some cases requires a lot of instruction. So for most people, the most major downside of a sit inside kayak is that fear of flipping over and struggling to get the boat righted and drained. Okay, so now we can talk about some of the ups and downs of a sit on top kayak. There's a really common myth with sit on tops that they're extremely unstable because you have that higher center of gravity. There is some truth in that. If you were to take, let's say, a Pungo here and just close it off exactly as it is and put a seat on top of it, it would obviously be less stable than its sit inside counterpart. However, most sit on top designs take this into account and do other things to counter that higher center of gravity. This is commonly achieved by wider style hulls and also more complexities on the bottom of the hull, such as edges and chines that really create some suction to make more stability. However, the downside of that is, as I mentioned with the sit inside, a narrower hull is going to cut through the water better, it's going to paddle easier, it's going to cause you less fatigue. You're probably wondering if a sit on top is going to be slower and more difficult to paddle than a sit inside, why would I get one? Well, the nice thing is that they are really, really comfortable. And so, as you can see, the top of this boat is just wide open. You sit in this nice comfy chair, you can spread your legs out. If you get too warm, you can kind of just flop your feet over the side of the boat into the water. These are all things that typically you can't do as much in a sit inside. And while a lot of sit insides have come really far with their design of outfitting and comfortable seats and cockpit space, it's still just not the same as totally stretching out on a sit on top and getting really comfy and just enjoying a warm day. The other major upside to a sit on top, water doesn't actually get inside of the boat when you flip over as long as you keep all your hatches closed. If you manage to flip the boat over, you kind of just reach right back across, flip it back over from the other side, boom, you're good to go. So righting this boat, if you don't know how to roll a sit inside, is going to be much quicker than the process of righting and draining a sit inside. So the bottom line really is that you should be making the decision of whether you get a sit on top or a sit inside based on what you're comfortable with. If you go to a kayak shop, especially one that you have the ability to demo at, like our Scappoose Bay shop here, try both. At the very least, sit in a sit on top and sit in a sit inside and see which feels more comfortable for you. There's a ton of other factors that play in, right? Like some people are claustrophobic, and somebody who's claustrophobic really isn't gonna wanna sit in a sit inside kayak and feel trapped. Some people, on the other hand, like that comfortable, feeling of feeling enclosed in a boat. It makes them feel safe. They're probably gonna prefer sit inside to a sit on top. So there are a lot of reasons to go with either of these boats. I use both styles from time to time for different applications. Both styles of boat are equally great for a lot of applications. It really comes down to you and finding the boat that is gonna be most comfortable. Thanks for watching our video on sit inside versus sit on top kayaks. That is a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave us a like and subscribe. If you have any other questions on sit inside versus sit on top kayaks, or you need a hand trying to figure out which you should be in, leave it in the comments below and we'll give you a hand. On that note, if you have any questions about kayaking in general, or you have ideas on videos that you would love to see, please leave those in the comments and we'll do our best to get to them. Once again, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you on the water.